I was scrolling through Instagram when a photo on my Explore page stopped me dead in my tracks. It was a selfie of me. The poster was an account named Julian, and the caption was a strange mix of confusion and lovesick devotion. Been dating this girl online for a year. Think it's time we finally meet, right? But every time I bring it up, she makes an excuse. Rose, what should I do? A second later, my roommate Madison popped her head down from the top bunk. A weird, secretive look on her face. Hey Chloe, what's the fastest way to lose 30 pounds in a month? Before I could even process what was happening, she added, her eyes glinting. Seriously, Chloe, if I lost the weight, don't you think I'd look a lot like you? I stared at the post on my phone. The comments were already a dumpster fire of internet savagery. Dude, wake up. You're being catfished. That's a stock photo, my guy. Do a reverse image search. You've been had. There's only one reason she won't meet you. She's a Victoria's Secret model in the pics and a human garbage disposal in real life. The op Julian was desperately defending his girlfriend in the replies. No way. We video chat all night. Her voice is super sweet. Plus, she sends me new selfies from every angle every day. It can't be fake. My mind went blank. The silk pajamas in the photo were a new set I had bought last month. I had only ever worn them in our dorm room. I had never posted a picture in them anywhere. Just then, Madison's voice drifted down from her bunk again, laced with a strange obsession. Hello, I'm asking you guys how to lose 30 pounds in a month. Lipo? One of those crazy diet pills. My other roommate Sarah rolled over in her bed across the room, her laughter making the bed frame shake. What? Madison, are you boy crazy again? 30 pounds in a month. The only way you're doing that is if you chop off a leg or just stop eating entirely. Madison ignored her. She climbed down the ladder, her bare feet padding across the floor to my desk. Her eyes were glued to my face like she was trying to x-ray the bone structure beneath my skin. It was so intense it made my skin crawl. I instinctively pushed my chair back a few inches. She suddenly spoke, her tone dead serious. Chloe, look at me. Tell me the truth. If I lost the weight, I could really look like you, right? The air in the room felt thick and still. I looked up at her round face, shaped by a steady diet of junk food, and the words caught in my throat. My heart skipped a beat. I thought down the wave of shock and disgust rising in my chest, and tried to make my voice sound casual. So, who's this boyfriend? Does he go to school here? Madison lifted her chin, a smug look spreading across her face. Ever heard of the Sterling family? The ones who donated the new library. He's the youngest son. Their family is in real estate and investment banking. Big deal on Wall Street. She flashed a triumphant smile and shook her wrist. Last month was our anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of when we were supposed to meet. So, he sent me this Tiffany diamond bracelet. He said he's going to introduce me to his parents on graduation day. Sarah, who was painting her nails, let out a loud snort. Julian Sterling, the rich one with the sports car. Well, I guess his taste is unique. Madison's proud expression curdled, her face turning an ugly shade of red. What's that supposed to mean? Sarah, he loves me for my soul. Her voice went shrill like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He said, uninteresting. What would a shallow person like you know about that? The dorm room fell silent. The atmosphere was as awkward as a Monday morning calculus lecture on my phone. The post was still getting replies. Julian was asking for help again. I want to surprise her. Just show up at her dorm. What kind of guys are girls like her into? I looked up at Madison's flesh face and asked carefully, have you guys ever actually met? Or is this a completely long-distance thing? My other 2 roommates turned to stare at her. Madison, don't tell me you've never even let the guy see you in person. Girl, this is America. You know you can get totally canceled online for catfishing. They were joking, but Madison's face went deathly pale. Her lips pressed into a thin, tight line. A moment later, she grabbed her hoodie and mumbled, my advisor needs to see me. It's urgent. Before storming out and slamming the door. The 3 of us left in the dorm room just stared at each other. When Madison came back that night, she seemed to have pulled herself together, and she was back to her usual bragging. Julian knew I was in a bad mood today. So, he ordered me takeout from New. This must have cost hundreds of dollars. She held up a fancy black takeout bag, showing it off on her desk, but I got a clear look at the receipt. The name on it was mine, Chloe. I figured since she was using my pictures, she was using my name, too, to make it all seem more real. My roommates were freaking out. Oh my god. New? It's impossible to get a reservation there. Julian Sterling is really that into you, Madison. You totally landed a sugar daddy. Madison let out a small laugh and opened the containers. Of course, Julian says, I'm the most genuine girl he's ever met in his fake, superficial world. Without anyone even having to ask, Madison started spilling all of Julian's secrets. He said he's sick of all those socialites. He likes girls like me, sweet, a homebody, someone who loves animals. She went on and on, lost in her own fantasy. He also said he loves my long hair and that I look best in white dresses. You know that clean, fresh girl next door look. But your hair is a bob and don't you live in hoodies? Sarah pointed out. Madison choked on her words for a second, then got angry and changed the subject. So he likes long hair and white dresses, huh? Julian Sterling, this boyfriend who had just fallen into my lap. I decided I'd be happy to take him off her hands. Saturday, I picked out the perfect white sundress, a French-style dress that was both innocent and a little sexy. I let my long hair down using a single claw clip to casually pull some of it back. The girl in the mirror was exactly the type that a rich boy like Julian would go for. I waited for almost half an hour by the Starbucks near the campus gym. Finally, Julian walked out carrying his gym bag. He had clearly just finished working out. He was wearing a simple white athletic tee and gray sweatpants. Classic all-American jock look. Tall, lean, defined muscles. My heart started to race, but it was more from the thrill of my impending revenge. I took a deep breath and set my expression. Just as he was about to round the corner, I pretended to be looking down at my phone and took a sharp step to the side. Oh my God, I gasped. I crashed right into his chest. The books I was holding scattered across the ground. The scent of expensive woody cologne hit me. He instinctively wrapped an arm around my waist to keep me from falling. I'm so sorry. I looked up in panic. The sudden movement made my hair tumble over my shoulder, the ends brushing against his arm. Julian was stunned by the sudden collision. He looked down at me, his eyes widening in complete and utter disbelief. He started to say something, but I cut him off. Sorry. So sorry I'm late for class, and I wasn't watching where I was going. I quickly studied myself and bent down to pick up my books, careful not to make eye contact with him for too long. At this close range, I mumbled another apology, then turned and walked away. I could feel his intense gaze burning into my back. He called out, "Hey, wait a minute." But I didn't slow down. I walked even faster, heading straight for the library. The footsteps behind me were getting closer. Miss, wait. I ignored him and kept walking. Hey, please. Just wait. He finally caught up, grabbing my wrist. I spun around like a startled deer, my face a perfect mask of alarm and defensiveness. What are you doing? I yanked my hand back and took a step away, my eyes filling with the kind of weary irritation any college girl would have when she thought she was being harassed. Julian was out of breath, a light sheen of sweat still on his forehead from his workout. He was staring at me, his expression as complex as an unsolvable math problem. He seemed to be struggling for words. I spoke first, my voice tinged with offended innocence. I already apologized. I really didn't mean to run into you. I frowned. If you don't need anything else, I have to go. He looked stunned. His brow furrowed like he was trying to figure out if he was dreaming. You don't recognize me? He finally asked, a hint of doubt in his voice. I looked up blankly, then couldn't help letting out a small laugh. It was light and amused. Should I recognize you? I tilted my head, my gaze clear and direct, nothing but pure, unadulterated cluelessness. Listen, handsome, I said, dragging out the word with a teasing smile. Is this some new pickup line? Because it's a little cheesy. Without giving him a chance to respond, I gave him a little wave and turned toward the campus bus stop. Have a nice day. I could feel him standing there, frozen like a statue, watching me walk away. My heart was pounding the whole way back. I kept my face calm when I opened the door to my dorm. Madison was showing off a brand new Chanel bag to our other two roommates. Look what Julian got me for New Year's. She tilted her chin up, her voice dripping with vanity. It's the new Chanel bag and a couture dress. And he just sent me another $5,000 for spending money. I didn't say anything. I just quietly took off my shoes. She glanced at me and made a mocking sound. Chloe, you know it's such a waste. You have a face like that and all you do is work for minimum wage at that coffee shop. She looked me up and down with contempt. You should really learn to use your assets. A sugar daddy would pay a lot better than serving coffee. I put down my water bottle and smiled, not taking the bait. Her phone rang. When she saw the caller ID, a flash of panic crossed her face. She took her phone out to the balcony, lowering her voice and answering in a sickeningly sweet, babyish tone. I could still catch a few words, and she sounded desperate and eager to please. A few minutes later, she came back inside looking furious. Madison slammed the balcony door shut. The glass rattled in its frame. When she turned around, the smug aura she usually wore, like cheap perfume, was completely gone. Her face was a color of old chalk. Her eyes started wildly around the room, landing on Sarah, who was scrolling through TikTok and then finally settling on me. "Where were you today, Chloe?" she asked. Her voice was thin, strained, trying desperately to sound casual and failing spectacularly. I paused, holding my water bottle midair, and offered her a lazy, unbothered blink. "Library." Then I grabbed a coffee. "Why did you talk to anyone?" She took a step closer. Her eyes dropped to my hair, then down to my white sundress. I could practically see the gears grinding in her head, sparking and catching fire. "You're wearing that dress." "I told you I hate that dress." "I think it's cute," I said mildly, smoothing the skirt over my knees. "Anyway, no. Didn't really talk to anyone. Just studied. Are you okay, Madison? You look like you're going to throw up." "I'm fine," she snapped, her voice cracking. She marched to her bed, grabbing her Chanel bag and clutching it against her chest like a life preserver. "Julian just had a weird dream about me. He thought he saw me on campus acting like I didn't know him. It freaked him out. That's all. He just loves me so much he's getting paranoid." Sarah snorted from the top bunk. "Sounds like he's got a guilty conscience. Or you do." "Shut up, Sarah," Madison hissed. She threw herself onto her bed and aggressively pulled the curtain shut around her bunk. A few seconds later, the frantic muffled tapping of her thumbs against her phone screen filled the quiet room. I turned back to my desk, hiding the sharp, adrenaline-laced smile pulling at my lips. He thought he saw me on campus acting like I didn't know him. Julian Sterling wasn't an idiot. If Madison thought she could gaslight a Wall Street heir who had just looked his girlfriend directly in the eyes into believing it had all been a hallucination, she was vastly underestimating him. The seed of doubt wasn't just planted. I had shoved it into the dirt and watered it. Now all we had to do was wait for it to sprout. It took exactly 48 hours for Julian to find me again. I was working the Tuesday afternoon shift at the campus coffee shop. It was a slow hour, the espresso machine hissing quietly in the background, the air heavy with the scent of roasted beans and vanilla syrup. I was wiping down the counter when the little bell above the door chimed. I didn't look up immediately. "Welcome. Be right with you. I'll take a black coffee." The voice was low, smooth, and carried an unmistakable undercurrent of tension. I froze slowly. I lifted my head. Julian Sterling was standing at the register. He wasn't in his gym clothes today. He wore a dark-tailored pea coat over a charcoal sweater, looking every bit the untouchable elite Madison bragged about. But his eyes, dark, intense, and thoroughly unsettled, were locked onto my face. He was dissecting me, looking for the girl who texted him goodnight. The girl who sent him selfies from the exact angles he liked. I kept my face perfectly neutral. I wiped my hands on my apron, walked over to the register, and tapped the screen. "One black coffee. That'll be $350. Name for the order." He didn't pull out his wallet. He just leaned closer, resting his hands on the counter. "Chloe." My fingers stopped over the screen. I looked up, letting a perfect flash of confusion cross my features. "Excuse me. Your name?" he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "It's Chloe, isn't it? Chloe Miller." I took a half step back, crossing my arms. I let my eyes harden into a glare of genuine alarm. "Okay, now you're creeping me out. You ran into me outside the gym 2 days ago, and now you know my full name and where I work." "Are you stalking me?" Julian flinched. The accusation hit him hard, but his confusion was overpowering his manners. No, I swear I'm not stalking you. It's just," he dragged a hand through his dark hair, looking completely lost. "Are you playing the game with me right now? Because if you are, it's not funny. You've been my girlfriend for a year." I stared at him. I let the silence stretch, long and agonizing, until the absolute absurdity of his words seemed to echo in the quiet cafe. Then I reached into the pocket of my jeans, pulled out my driver's license, and slapped it onto the counter between us. "Read it," I said, my voice cold. He looked down. Chloe Miller, and there was my picture, the same face he had stared at on his phone for 12 months. "My name is Chloe," I told him, looking him dead in the eye. "I am a sophomore majoring in English. I work here 3 days a week to pay for my textbooks. And until 2 days ago when you practically knocked me over, I had never seen you in my entire life." Julian stared at the ID. The color slowly drained from his face, but the voice notes. "We talked on the phone. Does my voice sound like hers?" I asked softly. He looked up at me. Really looked at me. I wasn't using the sickeningly sweet, pitched-up baby voice Madison used on her balcony. My natural voice was lower, slightly raspy, grounded. "No," he breathed. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He staggered back half a step. "No, you don't." "Someone is using my face," I said, letting a flicker of vulnerability slip into my tone. I picked up my ID and slid it back into my pocket. I don't know who you are or who you think you've been dating, but it isn't me. And honestly, it makes my skin crawl knowing some creep out there is sending you my photos. Julian looked like the floor had just dropped out from underneath him. All the arrogance, all the untouchable wealth, it vanished. He just looked like a guy who had realized he had spent a year pouring his heart, his secrets, and his money into a phantom. I bought her things, he muttered almost to himself. I bought her a Tiffany bracelet last month. And a Chanel bag, I arched an eyebrow. Well, unless you see me wearing diamonds while slinging espressos, I think you have your answer. He stared at my bare wrists. Then slowly, the shock in his eyes began to curdle into something else, something dark, sharp, and profoundly dangerous. It was the look of a man who had just realized he'd been played for a fool and had the resources to destroy whoever had done it. I need your help, Julian said. The tremor was gone from his voice. It was replaced by cold, calculating steel. Why should I help you? I challenged. I'm the victim here, too. Someone is stealing my identity. Exactly, Julian said, leaning in. Whoever she is, she knows you. She has access to your unposted photos. She knows your schedule. She might even live with you. I pretended to hesitate, biting the inside of my cheek. Then I sighed. Fine. What do you want to do? Julian pulled a sleek black card from his wallet, dropped it on the counter for the coffee, and met my gaze. I'm going to smoke her out, and I want you there when I burn her down. The dorm room turned into a psychological war zone over the next 3 weeks. Madison's descent was rapid and ugly. Julian had stopped sending gifts. He started demanding FaceTime calls, claiming his camera was broken just to force her to make up increasingly desperate excuses. I have a fever blister, babe. It's so ugly. My roommate is sleeping. I can't talk right now. Every time she hung up the phone, she looked a little more frantic. She started buying strange, unregulated diet pills online, the kind with warning labels in foreign languages. She stopped going to the dining hall entirely. I would wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of her aggressively doing crunches on the floor, panting and sobbing softly to herself. Madison, you look like a corpse, Sarah commented one afternoon, entirely unfiltered. You have dark circles under your eyes. Are you doing meth? I'm cleansing, Madison snapped, her eyes widen. She had lost weight, yes, but it didn't make her look like me. It made her look hollowed out sick. Her hair was thinning and her skin had taken on a grayish sallow tint. Julian is taking me to the Sterling Foundation Gala next Friday. I have to look perfect. I have to look exactly like. She stopped herself, her eyes starting to me. Like what? I asked, flipping a page in my textbook. Like a model, she muttered, grabbing her water bottle and storming out of the room. I looked down at my phone. A text from Julian glowed on the screen. Julian, the trap is set. I told her I'm sending a car for her on Friday at 7 p.m. for the gala. She told me she bought a new silver gown for it. I stared at the message. A second later, another one came through. Julian, interesting because a silver gown just went missing from my closet this morning. I typed back. Chloe, she stole your clothes. Julian, she's losing her mind. Julian, she thinks if she puts on your dress, she'll magically turn into you. Julian, she's going to wish she never learned your name. Then another message appeared. Julian, I bought you a dress, by the way. I'll have it sent to the coffee shop tomorrow. Don't wear the silver one. I smiled and typed back. Chloe. Chloe wouldn't dream of it. Friday night, the air was electric. Madison spent 4 hours in the dorm bathroom. When she finally emerged, Sarah and I were sitting on our beds. Madison looked terrifying. She had squeezed herself into my silver silk dress. Because she had lost weight so rapidly, the dress didn't drape the way it was meant to. It hung awkwardly over her newly protruding collarbones, but stretched too tight across her hips, the seams groaning. She had flat-ironed her hair to mimic mine, but the chemical processing had fried it. She had caked on layers of contouring makeup to carve out cheekbones she didn't possess. She looked like a distorted funhouse mirror version of me. How do I look? She asked. Her voice was trembling. Her eyes were practically begging for validation, wild with desperate delusion. Sarah just stared at her mouth slightly open. Madison, you shouldn't go out like that. You're just jealous. Madison hissed, clutching her fake Chanel. She had sold the real one to buy more diet pills when Julian stopped sending money. Julian is going to introduce me to his parents tonight. I'm going to be a Sterling. She grabbed her coat and practically ran out the door. As soon as she was gone, I stood up. From beneath my bed, I pulled out the garment bag Julian had sent to the cafe. When I unzipped it, Sarah gasped. It was a custom-fitted deep emerald green velvet gown. The kind of dress that didn't just cost money, it cost power. It came with a matching set of genuine emerald teardrop earrings. Chloe. Sarah whispered, where the hell did you get that? I slipped out of my sweats and let the velvet slide over my skin. It fit like a glove. I pinned my hair up into a loose, elegant chignon, leaving a few tendrils to frame my face. I put on the earrings, applied a slash of deep red lipstick, and turned to Sarah. I have a date, I said smoothly. Don't wait up. The Sterling Foundation Gala was held at a 5-star hotel downtown. It was a sea of tuxedos, diamonds, and old money. The air hummed with string quartets and the clinking of crystal champagne flutes. I arrived in the black town car Julian had sent for me. When the driver opened the door, Julian was waiting on the red carpet. He was wearing a bespoke black tuxedo, looking devastatingly sharp. When his eyes landed on me, he physically exhaled. The tension left his shoulders replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated awe. He offered me his hand. You look, he murmured, his voice thick as I stepped out, my hand resting in his. You look dangerous, Chloe. You haven't seen anything yet, I whispered back. Is she inside? Julian's jaw tightened. The odd in his eyes shifted back into predatory calculation. Yeah. She gave the bouncer the name Chloe Miller. She's hovering near the ice sculpture looking for me. Let's go say hello to your girlfriend, then I said, looping my arm through his. We walked into the grand ballroom. The moment Julian entered, heads turned and people parted for him. He was the prince of this world, and tonight I was on his arm. I spotted Madison immediately. She was standing near a massive swan carved out of ice, awkwardly clutching a glass of champagne. She looked entirely out of place, shivering in my silver dress, her harsh makeup looking cheap beneath the brilliant crystal chandeliers. She kept checking her phone, looking increasingly panicked. Julian and I walked toward her slowly, deliberately. Madison looked up. Her eyes found Julian first. A wave of massive relief washed over her face. She took a step forward, a nervous, triumphant smile breaking through her heavy makeup. Julian, she called out, shifting into that sickeningly sweet baby voice. Julian stopped about 5 feet away from her. The temperature around him seemed to drop to sub-zero. He looked at her, not with anger, but with absolute crushing disgust, like he was looking at a cockroach on his dining table. Madison faltered. Her smile wavered. Then her eyes slid to the right. They landed on me. The color drained from Madison's face so fast, I thought she might actually faint. Her jaw dropped. Her eyes started from the emerald gown to my face to Julian's arm, securely wrapped around my waist and back to my face. Chloe, she whispered, her voice completely stripped of the baby doll affectation. It was just Madison now, terrified, pathetic Madison. Hello, Madison, I said smoothly. My voice carried clearly over the low hum of the ballroom. I don't understand, Madison stammered, stepping backward. Her heel caught on the hem of my silver dress. Julian, why? Why are you with her? I'm your girlfriend. A few of the nearest guests stopped talking, turning their heads to watch the scene. Are you? Julian asked. His voice was a whip crack of authority because the woman I've been texting for a year is named Chloe. She looks exactly like the woman standing next to me. She wears the clothes the woman next to me wears. You, on the other hand, look like someone playing dress-up in stolen clothes. No. Madison shrieked, panic setting in. She lunged forward trying to grab Julian's arm, but he stepped back, shielding me. Julian, it's me. I'm the one who talked to you. I'm the one who loves you. She's just a barista. She's nothing. You committed wire fraud, Madison, Julian said calmly, though his eyes were lethal. You accepted over $20,000 in gifts, cash, and luxury items across state lines using a stolen identity. I already have my family's lawyers looking into it. The university has been notified of your theft and fraudulent behavior. You're going to be expelled and then you're going to jail. Madison's champagne glass slipped from her hand. It shattered against the marble floor with a loud violent crash that silenced the immediate area around us. No. Madison sobbed, her hands flying to her hair. I did it for you. You said you liked her face. I was going to be her for you. Look at me. Look at the weight I lost. I'm just like her now. She spun around, showing off the ill-fitting dress, her protruding bones, her ruined hair. She looked completely insane. You look nothing like her, Julian said softly. The cruelty in his quiet tone was absolute. You are nothing but a thief. Security. 2 massive men in black suits appeared instantly from the shadows. Get this woman out of here, Julian ordered. If she resists, call the police. The guards flanked Madison, grabbing her by the arms. She thrashed, her fake Chanel bag falling to the floor, her heels scraping wildly against the marble. Julian, please. She screamed, her voice tearing raw as they dragged her backward toward the service doors. I love you, Chloe. Tell him. Tell him I'm good. Tell him. I stood perfectly still, watching her get dragged away. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just let her look at the face she had tried so desperately to steal, utterly serene and untouched as she was hauled out into the cold night. The heavy doors swung shut. Madison was gone. The silence in the ballroom lingered for a few seconds before the string quartet, thoroughly professional, picked up the tempo and began playing again. The high society guests whispered among themselves, then slowly turned back to their drinks. Julian let out a long, slow breath. He turned to me, the ice in his eyes melting away, leaving something entirely different behind. Something warm, something dangerously focused. "Are you all right?" he asked, his hand gently touching the small of my back. "I'm perfectly fine," I said, looking up at him. "Though I think you ruined my silver dress." A genuine, startlingly handsome smile broke across Julian's face. He stepped closer, the scent of his woody cologne washing over me again, the same scent I had crashed into outside the gym. "I'll buy you 100 silver dresses," he murmured, his gaze dropping to my lips. "If you'll let me." I reached up and adjusted the lapel of his tuxedo, letting my fingers linger against the fine fabric. Madison had constructed a fantasy out of lies, desperation, and delusion. She had thought she could steal a life just by stealing a face. But as Julian's hand tightened around my waist, pulling me flush against him under the glittering chandeliers, I knew the truth. She had just handed me the keys to the kingdom. "We'll see," I whispered, smiling up at him. "You're going to have to do a lot better than new takeout to impress the real Chloe." Julian laughed, a rich, vibrant sound, and led me to the center of the dance floor.